Question number 4 reminds us, why we always want to be aware of our surroundings on an SAT reading section, right? Like, there are certain rules about what to do when you encounter certain questions. In this case, because we have a line reference in the question, usually that just means go to those lines, read a sentence on either side, and get the context and then answer the question. But if I'm aware of kind of what's coming up and where I've been, then this question has a little bit more to it. And we see that it's actually a pair. It's an evidence pair. And so that changes a little bit how I would answer the question. So yes, I do still maybe want to read about this party of 4 that they're introducing, the 2 men and 2 women who came into the restaurant, all talking at once and took possession of the center table near Limey. That's important. But once I know that, I'm going to start probably going down to these line references in question number 5, because those are the ones that are supposed to support my answer number 4. So there's a connection between these 2 questions. And if I just do number 4 on its own, I might be ignoring that aspect of the question, that there's a connection, right? So there might be other answers in number 4 that are correct, that are true, based on the passage. However, they need to be supported by one of the answers in number 5. And if I pick some other like true but not connected answer for number 4, I'm not going to get the pair of these questions right. So you got to do them together. But also when we do it, we want to make sure we still kind of narrow our focus and really understand what's being asked here. So, another strategy we might use here is show your work. It's really helpful on reading to, give yourself visual reminders of what you're being asked to do. And in this case, yes, we want to know about the party of 4. But the question is a little bit more narrow than that, right? Limey's primary impression of the party of 4, right? So we want to know what Limey thinks of them. So let's keep that in mind as we look at these answer choices, these line references. So 45 to 47, it says, 45 to 47, the women had shingled hair and short, tight skirts, which exposed the underside of their knees when they sat down. Well, that's certainly about the party of 4. But that's not really Limey's impression of them, right? Who's talking here? It's the narrator, who is not Limey. We've gotten that from other places in the story. We should have gotten that understanding by now, that Limey is just a character. He is not the speaker. The narrator is someone different. So maybe we keep this, but it's got a problem. It's not about Limey. Same thing with 47 to 52. It's going to cause a problem too. That's here. One of the women had the face of a young boy, but disguised by one trick or another, rouge, lipstick, powder, wet bangs plastered against the high forehead, and a pair of long pendant earrings to look like a woman of 35, which as a matter of fact she was. So again, Limey is not really factoring into this. Maybe this is Limey's view in some way through the narrator, but I don't know. I'd really love to hear more about Limey's point of view. Let's look at C, 55 to 59, right here. But it was the women's voices, the terrible, not quite sober pitch of the women's voices, which caused Limey to skim over 2 whole pages without knowing what was on them. So it's still describing them. It's saying that they have their voices are terrible, but it's including Limey in this. So let's go with voices bad as my descriptor here. And I take these little notes, this is showing your work, because I don't trust my brain to remember what all these line references were. So I make a little note so that when I start matching things up, I can go back and kind of remember very quickly what might match with the choices in number 4. So this is all just about not trusting myself. I know it's the beginning of the test, but already there's going to be way too much information to store in my brain. I don't want to waste this space. I'd rather use my brain for thinking, not for remembering. It's important. All right, line 69 is right here. And is that it? Limey closed the book. Really, the line here is just this. So this is definitely wrong, because it's not even about the party of 4. So it's about Limey, but it's not about the party of 4 at all. So it doesn't make any sense. So we've got 3 choices that might be right. One of them kind of stands out as my favorite. That's choice C. But let's see if we can find a match now. Now we go to number 4. So the line reader's primary impression is that they are noisy and distracting. Well, that matches with the voices being bad, so that seems to fit. They are a refreshing change from other customers. So here's the difference between A and B. This is clearly negative. This is clearly positive. Right? So that's a way of using dumb summaries to kind of understand what is being said. And if I go back to these lines, even these other two, even A and B, they don't seem positive. They don't seem negative, really. Maybe more neutral. But refreshing change, right? That's clearly positive. Plus, do they tempt the other customers? No, not at all. So that's another problem. So there's a lot going on with B here that I don't love. C, they resemble characters from his history book. Well, they describe how these people look, but they never make a comparison with the history book. So no, that's just not true. They represent glamour and youth. This is what a lot of people pick. And they pick it because it does kind of maybe in some contorted way match with line references A and B. They talk about the woman having a face of a boy. I guess they have short, tight skirts, and maybe you wouldn't picture an old lady doing that, so you can assume it's a young woman. They do say she's a woman of 35. I have problems with the youth thing. Maybe you can justify the glamour. I don't know. I don't really see that here, right? Shingled hair. That doesn't necessarily mean glamour to me. Short, tight skirts. Again, tight skirt does not mean glamour necessarily. Their knees being exposed. It's neutral. It's not positive. Glamour is more of a positive word. One of the ones had the face of a young boy, but disguised by one trick or another. So here they're maybe talking about things that we would associate with glamour: lipstick, rouge, powder, bangs. However, it seems very negative again. It doesn't really say that they're being glamorous. It's saying it's like disguising using tricks the way this girl looks. So it doesn't seem glamorous. And then if we go back to C, right, that they have that negative connotation for that one. So it definitely doesn't match with that. And so this is why narrowing your focus and paying attention to these little words is so important. Because I think that they're really trying to tempt you with choice D. I would say that this is a trap and that it probably matches with these two, one of those two, probably B more so. But yeah, that's a match. That is intentional. But it doesn't answer the question, right? Because Limey is not saying they're young and glamorous. The narrator is. We need Limey's impression, and the only choice that talks about what Limey thinks is the one about how their voices sound terrible, and we have another match for that, and that is much better, right? So with these paired questions, we want the choices to match, but they also need to match the question. There's three things that have to line up for an evidence pair. And so the problem with choice D and line reference B is that they match each other, but they do not match the original question. It's tough, but know that this is how the game is played, and you're more likely to get these kinds of questions right. If you know what the SAT wants from you, you are better able to give it to them. So I think here's a good example. Narrow your focus to specific words, pay attention to what they want, and then you can give it to them and get the question right.